Agatha All Along. Was so excited that Agatha All Along, famous Marvel character, is finally getting her own show. You know, they've hit a lot of the big Marvel characters, but everyone's been saying, where's Agatha All Along? It's not really a Marvel universe till we got an Agatha All Along show. Everyone knows that. So finally, after years and years of petitioning the most famous Marvel character with the most amount of comics to her name of anyone else, Agatha All Along on Disney Plus, now streaming on Disney Plus. As always, striking exactly when the iron is hot. And I'm watching this for some reason instead of a better show. Agatha, Mistress of the Evil, Agatha All Along, Mistress of the Dark, is an interesting show, I think, because it's doing some stuff that's kind of cool and kind of interesting, and I think it's overall, like, good, or at least not bad. But it also suffers from a lot of the same Disney Plus show problems that friggin' bug me, because they're like, they should be doing better. They should be doing better. Like, a lot of the Disney Plus shows suffer from this very weird pacing issue that really bothers me, where it feels like they're always rushing and dragging at the same time. Because you have this structure where it's kind of just one long movie, but it's split up into episodes. So it feels like in each episode, not really much happens, but also it feels like we're like rushing through everything at the same time. Like Marvel and Disney and a lot of stuff in general does this just nowadays anyways, where like stuff is always got to be moving. We got to be moving to the next thing. We can't just have like the characters like sit and interact for like a scene. There's always got to be like some forward momentum to what's happening, which, you know, on paper is a good thing. The story should be going somewhere, but like sometimes you got to just let stuff breathe and live in the world that you're establishing, that you're like telling the story of. Let the characters just kind of live in that world so that we can like get to know them better. I don't know. So Agatha All Along is back. She meets a teen there's a mystery about who he is. We'll get into that. But she's gonna assemble a coven of chaos, a mistresses of the evils. So she gets a bunch of witches together, and they gotta go on the witches' road. Down the witches' road. Boy, that fucking song was stuck in my head all week. That's why I'm making this video. It's just in there. Agatha All Along is just singing to me while I'm trying to get to sleep at night. So that's the main premise. She gathers a bunch of witches. They all have a different specialty, and then they go on down the witches' road together to get magic powers or whatever. It's kind of vague what they're even after. Like, Agatha's in it to try to get her powers back because she's lost her magic powers or whatever. And then the other witches all have vague motivations for why they're coming along also. Like, a couple of them have like a little bit, but not a lot. And that's sort of the thing. I think this is a really fun setup. We get like different kinds of witches. There's like one who specializes in potions. There's one who's like doing the psychic palm reading shenanigan. She's kind of a charlatan, but actually she does have real magical powers. And she actually is kind of the most interesting one. We got Teen Witch who is there, but I think he's good. I think his actor is really good. I'll get into him more in a minute because there's a whole thing about his character. And then we have Aubrey Plaza, who is awesome and totally works in this world. Like, she has some kind of history with Agatha, and there's like a bit of tension around that. And then like we don't know right away like how evil she is. She seems to be some amount of evil, but it's like unclear how. And Aubrey Plaza is just fucking having a blast in this role, and perfect casting. Again, there's a thing about her character I'll get into more in a minute. And then there's like a couple other ones. And like the core setup I think is fun. We're on this journey with these characters, but then it's like the Marvel thing, so it's always got to be like moving forward towards something. So there's like very few scenes of the characters just like interacting and doing stuff. And what's weird too is it's like this show is very much a sequel to WandaVision, so we're still doing the like every episode kind of takes on a little sub theme that has like a different time period aesthetic to it, and there's not really much rhyme or reason for that. Like, there's less rhyme or reason for it now than there was in WandaVision. But whatever, the characters get to wear fun costumes, so whatever, and like, sure. So then, like, each episode, they're, like, facing a different trial on the Witch's Road, and each trial is related to one of the characters. Theoretically, that should be like, oh, this is the episode that, like, gives this character, like, what their motivation is and stuff. But I feel like it still kind of rushes through all that, and it's just like, oh, there's a trial, we have to figure out what that is and how to solve it, and that's, like, the bulk of the episode. And there isn't, like, just enough seeds of the characters just interacting. I feel like these Marvel projects also like suffer from stuff that like a normal show, or like a normal show that you used to like not have as much. I feel like the actors aren't given proper time to like develop and build their characters and their relationships to each other, as well as like let the actors just fucking interact with each other so that they can like learn how to work with each other as actors and build the chemistry that comes from like doing a show week to week that you used to get all the time and stuff, but like we just don't really see anymore. We assemble this like ragtag group of characters, but then we like don't get enough with them, you know? And part of that is just like scheduling, because it's like a 8-9 episode thing, and it's got to like always be moving forward, and then ultimately it's mostly just about Agatha and Teen. But like, you have all these other characters there. It's like fucking let them interact and like do that. Perfect example, Parks and Rec. The first season, not that good. It took them a little bit to figure out the characters. Like, they were gonna write Chris Pratt off the show early on, but then they realized he has surprisingly good chemistry with Aubrey Plaza, so they started writing scenes with them together, and they become a major part of the show. There's this guy Mark who's kind of boring and has zero chemistry with anyone in the cast, and it's unclear what his role was ever supposed to be. So after season 2, he just leaves and they pretend he never existed. Even in moments where it would make sense to at least mention him, they just don't. And then at the end of season 2, they bring in Adam Scott and Rob Lowe, and the show gets significantly better. And then it stays at like a relatively high quality for the rest of its run. And yes, ideally a show would just be good from episode 1, but sometimes it takes a few episodes to figure out a show's strengths. But Disney always has such a quantity over quality, fix-it-and-post attitude about these things that any one project is never given the opportunity to grow. I feel like the actors all here like just don't really get a chance to do that. You have scenes where like they're freaking out about whatever problem that they're in, but there isn't really many opportunities to see like the differences between how each one would react to a different situation. I don't know if I'm making any sense. But then I also feel like the filmmaking and the editing especially doesn't even really give the characters or the show itself like time to actually breathe and like live in the world of the characters that is established. There's like weird obvious editing choices that are like not good. There's a lot of scenes where like all the characters are talking over each other, and like someone will say a line and it's unclear who is saying the line because it doesn't fucking cut to that character. And you don't always need to do that, but if you're not gonna do that, you have to like be cutting to a reaction that's incredibly significant, or the line itself has to be like really obvious who that character it's coming from.
Jennifer? Who said Jennifer? Let's find out. Turn on the subtitles. Jennifer? If you guessed Lilia, then you're right.
This one moment is edited so strangely, I just can't get over it. Lilia says Jennifer, but right as Alice turns her head. So at first you think it's Alice speaking, but obviously her mouth isn't moving. Then it cuts to Agatha, who also did not say the line, before finally cutting to Lilia so she can finish with, look at what you did. It's so weird. This show will just do this in like weird scenes where like instead of just cutting to the actor saying the line, it just doesn't. And it's like, if you're gonna not do that, then that line has to be like obvious who's saying it, like only that character would say that, or you just be bad, just have better editing is my point. And I think it comes from like trying to make it tighter, like trying to cut everything to as short a possible episodes as it needs to be, which is weird because there's no reason to do that. It's a Disney Plus show. The episodes can be as long as they want. They range from like 30 to 40-ish minutes, which should be plenty of time to do a full episode of stuff happening, but it always feels like we're rushing through what's going on. It's this weird like Marvel show thing where like, oh, this episode's 40 minutes. That's going to be like a pretty long episode. And then there's like a intro previously on that's almost a minute long. And then the credits start like 8 minutes before the end. So actually the episode's like barely 30 minutes, which is still plenty of time to tell a full story. Many shows got away with telling stories in 22 minutes for decades, and somehow like Marvel Disney Plus shows like struggle to fit one episode's amount of content into one episode, and it boggles my mind. And again, I think it's because of the weird, like, it's got to be one long story, but it also has to be cut into individual episodes for reasons, so that each episode doesn't feel like a complete anything. So they don't really like stick to the structure of a 22-minute episode where they had to like purposely put in act breaks so that like, oh, and then something dramatic happens right before the commercial. Like it was like that because it worked. It wasn't just because of commercials. And now because there isn't commercials, it's like, oh, we can do whatever we want, so we could be bad and sloppy at like pacing a story. It's so frustrating because they have all the resources there, and I feel like now that everyone's like, man, I kind of miss old TV when there was like 25 episodes a season, and it was like, not every episode was amazing, but at least it was like kind of consistent. And it's like decency, and then you get like time to just have the characters interact. There's also weird editing choices where like there's like this one scene where the characters are around a campfire and like for maybe 30 seconds they're actually like breathing and interacting and just like living in the world for a little bit, which is kind of interesting. And I wish it would like hold on that stuff longer. And like the different witches are saying things, and then suddenly at the end of the scene, Aubrey Plaza like says something, and it's like, oh, she was there in the scene. I didn't even know that because they didn't cut to her at the start of the scene. It's like weird stuff like that where it's like, show me who is in this scene so I can like know what's happening. Okay, so upon further examination, the scene isn't as bad as I thought. There is an establishing shot at the start of the scene where you can see Aubrey Plaza, but the scene is super dark like every other scene in the show, and it's actually kind of hard to see Lilia, who has a larger role in the scene. And then there's just like a ton of single shots, so the geography of where everyone is around the campfire is not very clear. So I totally lost track of who was even in the scene and where they were. Is this a skill issue? Maybe. But still, like, do better. Make it clear who is in the scene and where they are in relation to the other characters. It's weird stuff like that, where it's like, why is this not as good as it should be? There's a scene later where the witches all, like, fly on brooms, and it looks like garbage. It's like such shitty looking green screen. I don't know why it looks so bad, because they have all the money. You should be able to do it.
Yeah, that's better.
Wow, look at me! I'm Agatha all along! Whee! Woo! But then there's like this one shot of them all like flying in front of the moon, and they're like silhouetted by the moon, and it's like a cool looking shot. It's, you know, something we've probably seen before, but at least it has some like fucking art direction behind it, and they hold on it for like a second, and then it's like back to the bad looking green screen. It's like, hold on the cool looking shit. Why are you like showing me bad looking green screen that I've seen a billion times? Like, at least if you're gonna do like classic witch tropes, then just fucking do it for like a little bit. Just hold on the cool stuff for like a little longer. There's no reason you have to like be rushing through everything and to get to like the mediocre stuff. It's so weird. I think this show would have also really benefited from like a horror director doing some of the episodes. I can't remember who is behind. I think it's most of the same team from WandaVision, which I didn't like that much. I mean, I thought it was fine until they like kicked fans in the dick for thinking that Quicksilver might be in the show when they cast an actor who played Quicksilver as Quicksilver in the show, and then the ending was kind of bad. But anyways, we're talking about Agatha All Along now. What the fuck was I saying? Oh yeah, horror director. Like, there's an episode where they have to do a Ouija board, and it's like a horror movie parody, kind of, but only half-assed, because everything is half-assed for the first half of this season. And it's just like the most, you know, like, it's not even really shot like a horror movie. There's like kind of spooky lighting, but not really. And then it's just like, it's a Ouija board, and then no, a ghost shows up, and it's like whatever. It's like fucking commit to it. Like do some spooky camera angles. Get fucking Sam Raimi back in there. At least people shit on Doctor Strange too, and yeah, it was not very good, but at least it had some cool fucking camera work. But then like around the halfway point of the season, the show actually starts to like get good and like pretty good. I'm gonna like go into spoilers from here, which I don't know if that really matters. Like the main thing is that two of the characters have like reveals about who they are, and it's like I already had that spoiled to me, and I don't think it really changed how the show functions that much, to be honest. So if that matters to you, spoiler warning going forward. So we finally get a reveal of who Teen is, and he's Billy. He's Wanda's son from WandaVision, except there's like a weird twist for it where like this kid died right at the same moment that like the WandaVision show ended, and Billy and the other one disappeared or whatever. So like part of his brain or something went into this dead kid's body and like got reincarnated or reborn or whatever. And so like we get an episode that's like a flashback about all this, and it's like actually really compelling. It's more of a drama, which I think is also helps because there's like interesting dramatic things happening with this kid, this character, who's like confused as to like who he even is, why he's in this new body, what's going on. Like his parents think he has amnesia, and he's like kind of just living life to try to not freak out anyone, but still trying to figure out like what happened to him and what's going on. And it's like really interesting and compelling, and actually kind of consistent with the lore of Wiccan, Wanda's son, who eventually becomes a young Avenger and all that stuff from the comics. It's just his origin is just as complicated and convoluted there as it is in the show, so it like kind of works. Like it's kind of accurate to the comics. They let him be gay. He's one of like 4 Marvel characters that are gay. He has a canonical boyfriend. They kiss on screen in a Disney show on Disney Plus. They're allowed to have there's a lesbian kiss later in the season that's like connected to the main plot of the story. You can't even like cut around it. It's the main character of the show. She kisses Aubrey Plaza at the end of the show, and it's like part of the show and on a Disney thing. And I know I'm like freaking out about this, but like they don't do that. They put one gay character in the background out of focus in one shot of Star Wars, and they're like, look, we did it, representation. Here they actually did. Most of the characters are gay. Like there's one who's maybe straight, but also not confirmed. And the rest of them are like at least a little gay, which is, that's a lot for a Disney show. Now, I also theorize that this is because it's Agatha All Along, and they know that like a lot of people are not going to watch this show to start, so you can get away with it. It's kind of like how there was apparently a gay character in Eternals, but nobody watched it, so you don't even know. And this shouldn't even be a big deal, because it really isn't. It's just like insane that Disney so don't want to upset the conservatives that they're really that afraid of doing the barest minimum of like representation, and even that is like still usually feels forced. But here it's at least like it's just part of this story. It's just like, yeah, this guy is gay. He has a boyfriend. We don't actually make a big deal about it. We just like have it exist. He had a Trans Lives Matter poster in his bedroom. They put that in a Disney show? That's allowed? Again, I don't think that Disney even actually really cares about about like gay people or gay representation or anything. I think it's mostly just like, who cares? It's Agatha All Along. Most people aren't gonna watch it anyways. But like, at least it's there. At least we finally have like some. And like, yes, I know there's technically been like some gay representation in other stuff. Loki had one line about how he's bi. Sure. There's like a gay firefighter in the background of Hawkeye. Okay. Wow. But that's it. So it's like it kind of is cool that there's finally something. There's finally something, you know? Anyways, after that, we get like a cool episode where it's from the older witch lady, who I forget her name, but she does like fake tarot card readings. And we get a really cool episode from her perspective, where her thing is that she can read the future, but that also means that she like experiences time out of order. And there's this like kind of idea that like time is not as linear as most people experience it as. And so there's like this really cool episode where we see stuff out of order from her perspective, and then as she's like starting to fill in the gaps, as she puts it, like we start to see how everything fits together. And we even flash back multiple times to moments from previous episodes that felt like they were just random moments, but they were actually setting up stuff to pay off in this episode. So like suddenly the show gets really, really good for like one episode. It's even shot and edited well, which kind of threw me, because I'm like, why weren't the other episodes that interesting? Like this one has like legit cool looking shots in it. And like a really cool moment at the end where she does the tower and then she flips it and then everyone flips and then she's like falling. But that was the thing from the earlier in the episode. There's like a shot framed from the window where she's falling, and it's the way it's framed with the glass and everything, it looks kind of like a tarot card. It's fucking cool. It almost feels like something out of, almost hesitate to say this, but like a Mike Flanagan show where it's like, oh, suddenly the writing and the directing and the editing are all working together to like tell a cool story and like do stuff non-linearly that's like cool, and it's like really good for for a second. It's maybe not quite on that level, but it's like approaching it. Why couldn't it be like this the whole show? Why did I have to sit through four or five kind of boring episodes before it got good? Although this episode does do one thing that kind of annoyed me, which is that like their characters are all in Halloween costumes for no reason. Just no reason. And they're all like dressed as like classic witches from Disney and stuff that Disney wants you to think that they own, like Wizard of Oz. And they look great. Agatha looks great as the Wicked Witch. Teen or Wiccan looks awesome as Maleficent. Like, they look great. There's no fucking reason for them to be in Halloween costumes other than I think this episode came out close to Halloween. Okay. Sure. Why are they in Halloween costumes? They're not at a Halloween thing. Stupid. And then we get like the final episode, which is like, you know, Marvel, pretty standard Marvel finale nonsense, where Agatha has to fight the Bad Witch. Also, can we get like a cool magic fight, please? Like what are we doing here? Who's Aubrey Plaza. The reveal about her character is that she's Death, which is really cool. I wish we got her when Thanos was around. But anyways, I love Aubrey Plaza as Death. I think that's fucking perfect casting. She's perfect as like, I'm evil and I love being evil. She had a previous relationship with Agatha, a legit lesbian relationship. They like say that in the show. They kiss, and it's like the kiss of death, and Agatha dies, and it's kind of cool, and it's like part of the plot. You can't cut it out. Also, I think her design is great. She's mostly just Aubrey Plaza, but then there's like a couple moments where she gets a bit of the skull face, but like her eyes are still there. It's almost like a Day of the Dead kind of thing. It looks fucking awesome. It looks so good. And I'm a little bit mad because I really wish that we had gotten this like while Thanos was around. Because in the comics, Thanos' whole thing is that he's in love with Death, and Death is just not that into him. And it's fucking hilarious. That was why his whole mission was to like kill half the universe to try to like impress Death. And like that's such a more interesting motivation for doing that, I think. Because in the movies they tried to make it like it was a logical move, like, oh, I did the math and it's the only way to save the universe. And it's like, no, that's stupid. That's dumb. And no one ever calls him on it. They're just like, you know, he actually has a point. No, he doesn't. He's just crazy.
That sounds an awful lot like genocide.
No, because it's random.
He's just crazy, which is fine. But like, have your heroes say that. It's so stupid. But if you have it that like, oh, it's not a logical thing that he's trying to accomplish, it's purely emotional. It's purely like, do you love me now? If I kill a lot of people, will that make you love me? And she just like doesn't care. Fucking that is brilliant. Which I wish they did. Like, oh man, can you imagine fucking Aubrey Plaza just like bossing Thanos around and messing with him just like, this asshole's in love with me. Sometimes I like messing with him and telling him to do shit because he'll do whatever I say.
Don't do it. I swear to God, I'm gonna murder you in your sleep. I know where you live, 14th Street, right? I'm gonna get a melon baller and scoop your eyes out and eat them. And your congressman uncle's gonna have to buy you a dog to drag your eyeless face around. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be such a perfect dynamic. I kind of hope we get like a flashback or something at some point, because it would be so cool. Otherwise, like, why is Death here? I don't know, so she can bang Deadpool? Ooh, because I want that. I want to see that. But perfect casting, great performance. And then what else? Oh yeah, and then the last episode is also really good. After Agatha dies, we finally get, at the very end of the show, an episode like explaining her backstory and like what her deal is. Which is like kind of annoying because the whole show is called Agatha All Along, and there's like this there's like hints of her backstory and like what her fucking motivation for doing anything is. We don't get it until the very last episode. And it's like good. It's like a good episode. We get some scenes outside in the woods, which I know is like the cheapest place to shoot, but at least it's not on a fucking soundstage, so it looks a little bit more interesting. And yeah, she has this whole backstory with, she had a son who was fated to die, and Agatha like tried to make a deal with death to have him be alive still, and she's like, I can give you a little bit more time, but he's gonna die. And eventually he dies, and it's kind of sad. I wish they fucking held on it for like more than 5 seconds, because you have Catherine Hahn finally like getting to like get into the pathos of her character, and we like barely hold on the moment when her son dies, and it's like, fucking just hold on that shot for longer than like 30 seconds. Like, just let her fucking act. Let me cry. Let me like feel an emotion. God. But there is a cool reveal about like, the whole fucking show they've been singing this song, down the witch's road. It's stuck in my head. Fuck you. And we get a reveal that the song actually was written by her and her son, and they were using it as like kind of a way to try to scam other witches and steal their powers. And then her son dies, but the song's already kind of taken on a life of its own, and people like have heard the ballad of the Witch's Road and they think that it's like a real thing. And so Agatha's just been using that for centuries to recruit witches. Oh yeah, I know about the Witch's Road. I'll help you find it. Then gathering like a coven of witches and then stealing all their powers and killing them. And it's fucking awesome. It's also like, finally we get to see the villain of the show, like Agatha, like be a villain, which was like the pitch of the character in the first place. It was like, oh, this would be a fun villain. And then we finally get to see it at the final episode of the show about her. And it's cool. It's just frustrating that it takes that long to get to it. I know that there's like stuff about, you know, time isn't linear and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we're saving some of the reveals and stuff for the end so that it recontextualizes the whole show. Now we have new context for why Agatha was doing all the things that she was doing. I get all that. It's just like a little bit frustrating that I'm like watching this show about Agatha and it's not really about Agatha until the last episode. And like the rest of the show is mostly about Wiccan. And that stuff I thought was pretty good too. I like the actor a lot, I said. I like that he actually was allowed to be gay, and he's like trying to figure out what's going on with who he is. And if he's alive, maybe his brother's secretly out there somewhere still. So that's his motivation. And then he ends up using his WandaVision powers to create the Witch's Road. He believed in it enough that it became real or whatever.
Some genes are so powerful they become real!
Which does give some credence to like why some of the episodes are like, here's the soundstage for this episode. It's like, there is a phoniness to like each set piece, so at least, I don't know, maybe I'm just coping with like, I feel like they could have done, like, I like the concept of each episode has a little house that it takes place in, and each one takes on a different theme. There's one that's like a 70s music video. There's one that's like a horror movie, except they don't do anything interesting with it. I like some of the concepts there, but maybe I'm just coping with how, like, I feel like that stuff was kind of ultimately pointless and boring. Then we get one good episode for one of the witches, and then the other ones, like, aren't that interesting. They're just kind of also there. The potions one, like, gets away, and it's like, okay, all right. The other ones die, which is mostly just to pretend there's some stakes to what's happening. But, like, I don't really care that much about them. I just met them. So then that's the show. It's good in the last like 4 episodes or so, and it's like kind of fun before that, but like I wish it got was better. And there's some like, you know, Marvel isms towards the end where it's like, and tune in next week for the MCU where our new favorite characters, Wiccan and Agatha, but she's a ghost now, are gonna do something. And that's the other annoying thing about all these fucking Marvel shows, is that like every one that they make is like ultimately just like to set up a character so that they can get their own show later. WandaVision turns out is just a backdoor pilot for Agatha All Along, and then Agatha All Along is just a backdoor pilot for Wiccan. So it's like, where are we going with any of this? Like, are they gonna do something at some? Are they gonna meet other characters at some point? Are these characters all gonna show up in the Avengers? Are we gonna do a Young Avengers? Because there's a lot of Avengers kids running around now, but like, I don't care about most of them. Are they gonna do anything? So I don't know. That's my rant about Agatha All Along. I don't really have a thesis other than I kind of liked it. I like the song. Catherine Hahn is great. I don't know. Do better. Do as good as you did in the later half of this season, but for like a whole show next time. That would be cool. That'd be cool if it was good like all the way through, and not like okay and then it eventually gets good. Like try making something good the whole time. And like let your actors fucking act and like bounce off each other. If you're gonna set up all these characters that I'm supposed to care about, like then give me something to care about. That's it. Go watch other videos or something. Did you watch Agatha All Along? Agatha, the Mistress of the Dark, Coven of Chaos, Mistress of Evil. Agatha, Born Again. I sure can't wait for Daredevil, when that'll definitely be good. Bye-bye.